time again. It's the nigga wake up call. Ooh. On this episode of this edition of the new nigga wake up call, we got to give it to the brother Nore from the Drink Champs podcast. So, there was the recent controversy when they featured Kanye West on the show. And for some reason, indirectly, I see that Nore has been on this apology tour. Like, basically kind of qualifying, the interview and just kind of trying to justify why he did the interview and why he didn't check Kanye during the interview, or how he could have done the interview better and kind of managed the interview as a journalist better, as opposed based upon what Kanye was saying. But obviously he got a call from somebody.
So for context, Kanye, just in case you've been under a rock, Kanye went onto the show Drink Champs, where the show is kind of designed for you to speak freely about whatever it is, for entertainers. You're actually drinking on this show, so apparently this makes you really say things like that are honest, right? But how, us knowing who Kanye is and, his recent antics in the media, and you would really have to be under a rock to not have seen or heard any of that. He made some comments that could be considered like anti-Semitic or against Jewish people. And we know just being people of color, like what we have seen consistently, that whenever there's statements that, and they don't necessarily have to be super negative against people that are Jewish or about Jewish people, there's this immediate backlash where whatever platform allowed this person to speak freely is usually compromised in some way, or the person who actually did the interview is, gets attacked in some way, or he loses his ability to, continue with that same platform or the show or whatever he was doing. We've seen this previously with Nick Cannon when he was on his own radio show. Was it a radio show or a podcast?
It was one of his podcasts.
Where he basically made statements about Jewish people and who he felt like who were the real Jewish people and stuff like that. And there was a backlash there. And ever since then, he's been having a bunch of kids. So, no, that don't have anything to do with it, I don't think. Mm. But as it relates to Kanye, it was pretty bad just because, and my thing is like the anti-Semitic comments, I get why that was, why I received the reaction it did. But more so, Kanye was just kind of, to me, like all over the place, which is sad because sometimes he say things that are really relevant, and then he says something crazy like recently saying that, and this is not to get too down on Kanye because we've been there, done that, and wrote the book, and we're done really talking about the Kanye antics, like, for now. But there's been consistently things that have happened surrounding, his behavior. And so for Nore, it just was like, you already know what's up with Kanye. Like, you should have had somebody on standby ready to, like, hit the button to cut it off, cut it short, or just redirect it in the interview process, like, well, let me steer away from certain topics and stuff like that, because you know who you're dealing with. Or they could have had it could have been edited out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious about the whole why Nore had to be the one. I know he's like the face of the podcast, but he does have a co-host, DJ EFN. I'm not sure what his ethnicity is. I think he's Middle Eastern or something like that, but I'm curious as to why it had to be Nore to be the only one to represent the podcast when it came to like making the apology tour.
I mean, he leads the show.
Yeah, he does more of the talking in the show, but I mean, the other dude is his partner in the show as well. But to tie it back to the Nick Cannon thing, but one thing we see that's similar when these types of things happen, when people are kind of labeled as anti-Semitic, just like Professor Griff from Public Enemy back in the day, even like Nick Cannon. They took things away from him. Yeah. They took his show Wild 'N Out, got taken from him. Mm-hmm. And then he went on an apology tour. And I don't know if he got it back or is in some other type of a media situation again or whatever, but they acted swiftly on that, and they leverage their power, whoever the powers are that be, against a marginalized person. Right. And so no matter how that's the part of the nigga wake up call. No matter how big you think you can get,
man,
you never.
There's only one way to freedom, and that's through your own. Like nobody can grant you that through no podcast on a network that's not owned by someone who looks like you. Period. Or yourself. Period.
Yeah, that's just a reminder of who owns most of this, if not all of it.
Ain't no freedom of speech, bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, is you if you are on the airwaves and it's not by your own efforts, like where no one can come and snatch it from you, then you're not really totally free.
Let me ask you this: was that new slave mentality on anybody's behalf? Was that new slave mentality on behalf of Nore? Was that new slave mentality on behalf of Kanye? And the reason I'm asking this is because we know that Kanye had a recent interview on Drink Champs before this last one. He had one less than a year ago, which did great numbers, right? And so I think, from, being a platform, obviously what drives, your value is your numbers and your traction. And so I think maybe they were going for another hit.
Oh yeah, definitely. Controversy sells.
Right.
Like, so that's exactly why he was there. But the problem with that, like I said earlier, is he's all over the place. Like, literally, there was an interview in response to I don't know if it was in direct response to the Drink Champs interview, but they were talking to Kanye again, and he made a comment about, he apologizes to the George Floyd family. Because is that where he talked about it on Drink Champs? Did he say, or did he?
Yeah, he mentioned. He said, he didn't die, or George Floyd didn't die from having the foot on his neck or the knee on his neck.
And that happened in that. And see, this is the thing. I'm to the point where if it's Kanye, I just keep scrolling. I don't have time. So now I have to now what is it? Now what this fool said this time? Or what is he on? And so in a recent interview, I think it was like TMZ, he says, he wants to apologize to my community, which is the black community. This is Kanye. And he was like, because because I now know what it's like to have a foot on my neck.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Because I'm having everything taken from me. What is more humbling? I don't know if he said humbling, but something to that effect, than having your billionaire status taken away from you.
Oh my God!
So let me get this straight, Kanye. You compared a knee on an innocent man's neck for, I don't know how long it was on there. I forgot now.
I thought it was like 8 minutes and something.
From a law enforcer, right, who's supposed to protect and serve. This man died slowly, right? You compare that to the loss of of billionaire status that you fumbled. Like, you lost that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you did that to yourself. Like, what are you talking about? First of all, it's incredibly insensitive. And at this point, it's just like, don't worry about it, Kanye. We don't need you to apologize. We just need for you to go work on yourself. Just be quiet for a little bit. Like, let shit fizzle down. Go talk to a therapist. Like, really, really do some self-reflecting. You know what I'm saying? Like, work on, because you're all over the place. Like, and at this point, the saddest part about it is he's really just we're making a mockery of him, so to speak, by just keeping the conversation, keeping the cameras on him. Just stop. They wouldn't do this. Britney Spears, and I'm not saying that he needs to have, is it censorship or... Is it censorship?
Yeah, censorship. Yeah.
Censorship. I'm not even saying that he needs that, because I don't want nobody to debate me on that. But I'm just saying, for people who they're really trying to protect from, getting out there and, making a mockery of themselves and stuff like that, they have things like that in place. And I'm not going to say, it just happens for white folks. But something needs to take place where we're like, Kanye, somebody needs to step in who really cares about him and say, hey, man, you just need to chill for a minute. Just relax. You know what I'm saying? Work on yourself, because right now, shit is going out of control, and you're going to look up and you're going to be under a bridge.
Right on. Okay. And on that note, that's enough bars for Kanye. We've given him enough enough airtime.